This is a very good story to be told. I don't know if Arshad is here or not. I am with him in the same situation for 7 years in a row. He present, then I present next time. So, okay. I'm ready to start. Yeah, I think I will start with my presentation. Exactly was the same quote you ended with, the role of architecture, and I always intrigued by the quote of Labius Wood when he said, "Resist the idea that you need a client to build your project, or even do architecture." So it's an experimental category. And let me get you through the story. So it's the problem of the uncontrolled urban expansion that happens for many of our cities. It's not only about a certain city, but I think will be specific about the topic that we talk. As you see here, Egypt, almost 20% of the population lives on only 0.3 percentage in Cairo itself. So this is the case that we are dealing. It's a very dense morphological fabric of Cairo. And during just this research we did through the Google Earth, we can see how the urban expansion keep growing to eat the green agriculture area from the city. And the more the city is growing, the more the infrastructure is taking over. Like it was at least little pocket of spaces, of green spaces, and now it became roads and infrastructure. And this is happening too much these days. And the larger the cities be, the more the problem, and the greater the problem it will be. So Cairo, it's became like a concrete jungle. As you see, this is the more images that you can get. And Cairo was known as the city of 1,000 minarets. This is, it's very well known. As you see, the concrete jungle is even taking the spiritual Cairo and old Cairo. There is no even soft threshold between the new urbanity and the old Cairo. However, this is a different side of Cairo, the informal settlements of Cairo, which is the people built for the need. Following the standards, and this is how much the percentage of the person in Cairo from the green space. It's very, very, very minimum, and the capitals keep growing 10 times of the population. This means it will be 1 tree for almost 100 Egyptian. So for me as an architect, really, this is not an architecture thing. I think it's more responsibility thing, like to think beyond and to propose something for the people that they don't face this situation as much as we can. In the latest time, this is how many trees that we lost on the streets because of the infrastructure, and only in the last 3 years we lost this amount. So, and this has caused a lot of damage to the urban fabric and also the life, the people very stressed, and there is no quality of life for the city, which is, I believe, Cairo. It was very, very fascinating city to learn even from. So the other part, which is I call learning from informality, there is another hidden order happening in certain cities, which is we all know, but nobody talk about, which is, I call it a parallel system. The people trying to adapt with whatever problem they have, because this is a survival moment to them. So this is the normal people in the informal settlements trying to use the roofs and opportunity to crop plants, and so. And this is, it's a very trauma that the people by themselves are aware about the problem, but nobody taking an action to this. And also, this is a Bijon Towers. They are using this as a communication, between them. It's a very social, festive happening on the sky, because there is no space on the ground. So they are there, and see, it's very simple in my opinion, but it's a very impactful on the same time. So how to be green or how to be sustainability? I think we keep saying this, but we keep building on the same time. This is the contradiction of architecture. Our industry is one of the biggest damage happening. So I think we shouldn't build, in my opinion, but we still need to build. So I think the most green thing that we can have is to inhabit a structure that's already there and giving afterlife or extra life. We have millions of them. I call it, this is my personal research, I call it architecture for other structures. Because of architecture, we have a very nice structure happening, like the water towers, the power stations, and many desalination and many things happening. And this was being captured through my research by a very good German photographer and around the world. It was very beautifully, very honest. What I really like about it, the structure is the architecture. The structure is the function. Very honest representation of architecture, despite we call it brutalist or the 70s, but it has its certain honesty, in my opinion. So going to our case, we take one of the water towers. It's very typical. We didn't want to the fancy one because we are trying to prove that if we can do this here, it could be applied everywhere. So we take the typical shape and we started to add an extra structure to it. And this extra structure has the facilities, and it's create a new life inside the city, which we call it like it will be a new urbanism machine. It's very self-sufficient process that it happens. And contradicting the fact of the heavy structure, with the water tower, we are using a very light structure, which is the timber wood that we are using. And it works, as I said, as a very self-sufficient machine to produce greenery, fresh air, and also many things. This is approximate of the greenery that we can add. And the most important to me is to give the people the space in multi-levels for a democratic use, that they can freely using it in a very light manner, in my way. And the most important, it will become, again, the city of 1,000 minarets, but with a green, with a use, with a purpose. So trying to bring this poetic Cairo again, which is we lost because of the expansion to the situation now. And I think, I believe it's sometimes it could be, cancer is a bad word, but it could be here like a good cancer, like the good bacteria that it will spread on the city and create its own system, because in each neighborhood you have the water tower already. So this kind of system, it will be created by itself, and using the roofs as the fifth facade, so the people can go have this kind of communal and social space. The facade itself, it has this kind of peri-soleil, but also it's producing energy, and it's absorbed the humidity from the water and create its own system. And this is how it could be envisioned at the end. And also we're trying to take the people through this kind of journey. And we are very aware that we kept this time-space reading between what built on 70s and what it could be built now, by differentiation of the materiality and also the relation, the juxtapose between the old and new, and bringing this kind of atmosphere to the city, which is most needed. And I think because we as human, not as architects, even deserve a better life. Thank you so much. Sorry, I really forgot this. This is a true story. I think Paul Finch burned it last night on the stage, but it started with an effort of an experiment, and I wasn't really want to go beyond this because I don't know how the reality about it, but because of the social media nowadays, it's become like something, especially in the national media, social media, and I found the contractor that he will build it, which is something. This is for me I learned it from this process, that you can start something from nothing, and it could be turned it for a real thing. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think this is it's really beautiful and a powerful symbol and a change agent. That's amazing. Can you talk about the process? Did you speak to neighbors? Did you speak to people on the street about this vision? And how did they participate? Okay.
The exact story happened like this. I was being invited last year for a keynote speech here in WAF to talk about Cairo with Jonathan Glancy. Okay, I went very critical on that situation, and so when I went back, the people said, "Okay, you can critique, it's fine, but you are an architect. You can also give solutions, and this is what you really learn from your mistakes." I said, "Okay, so my voice as an architect is I can use it also in this way." So I said, "Okay, let's do something." About this. So it started with an idea, and through the walking, even I selected where I placed the water tower, because it's in one of the worst informal settlements that it can see, because I want to prove that if it could be happen here, it could be happen everywhere. If it could be happen in Cairo, it could be happen in Mumbai. So it's a local solution that it could be applied globally. And I think after having this good news, I will be more more passionate about really go deep on this one, because I've been advised last night that I have to push for it too.
I find this to be quite compelling and interesting, and of course, seeing it from an architectural point of view, makes a lot of sense. And I would like to know if you imagine how is this going to be run, in terms of governance,
Yeah.
who is going to be owning it,
Yeah.
how is it going to be managed?
Yeah. It is the same also point of Paul when in the WAF X stage. I really since long time, I'm still young, but since long time I stopped even to look to the statics of architecture, more to like I became more to the purpose of architecture. The purpose for me is the beauty of architecture. So people themselves in these communities, and what this is what I took learning from informality. They have a system, really they have a system, and this system is based on the social order that they have. They have the economic system that parallel system to the central system. They have the moral system, the social system. Once you give them this right infrastructure, because for me this is not an architecture project, it's an infrastructure project with an infill of another infrastructure with another purpose. So the main purpose of the water tower, it was mono purpose, which is to pressurize the water, it comes from top, then you bring it up again. So now it's become a social space. So it's adding up another purpose. How it could be used, the people really dying and starving for this public spaces to be on the city, and I'm sure they can utilize it in the benefit.
Thank you very much for your presentation. So this is meant to be public, right?
Yes, completely
And
public.
is there any kind of activity or programs
Yeah.
throughout the tower that
Yeah.
will make me go up and down? Just is it to watch the view, or can I have a coffee, or can I stop halfway
Yeah.
and meet people and talk about things?
Yeah.
So is it just about flow, or do you have like
Yeah,
pockets of
yeah.
programs
Yeah,
and
thank you for asking
spaces
this, and I feel
of permanence?
I feel really bad because I have many slides I couldn't put here because I want to control the time. We have like an imaginary program. As I mentioned, it will be self-sufficient, ecosystem by itself. So even we imagined you can have some classrooms, you can have some incubator or like spaces, but we need to make it as much open as I can, because I don't want to add another architecture piece. But by having this infrastructure, I heard before that we never know what is happening in the future. So, but the most thing to be prepared of the future is to be more flexible and adaptable. So, to happen. So, having this as an infrastructure, the people can freely use it. So, now I planned it as a platform for more greenery and for cropping plants and for kids to play and to go up and having this social and artistic congregation. But also, it could accommodate many functions, and this is what we shouldn't limit, in my opinion.
In a sense, there's almost a danger it becomes a victim of its own success, because if it becomes you do this and then people are coming to visit it, not necessarily, and someone says, oh, let's put a cafe at the top because we can get people up to see the city. And actually, it should be about the people and the place, and they're taking it over as their own kind of ecosystem.
But even this, I see it also, it's a workable solution. In the old Cairo, beside any mosque, you used to have a small cafe, which is they take this money and they do the maintenance for the mosque itself. So, there is no bad about even to commercialize something inside this, because it could be dreamy to be open to public and everything, but it would be also good if the reality helps this.
If the money goes back through
yes,
the cycle.
yeah.
The brise-soleil, as you described it, is that effectively a series of wires, or?
Yes.
And then that allows the plants to also grow on them?
Yeah, I will tell you something. The funniest thing is that the contractor who approached me to build this, he's one of the largest contractors that he built the bridges. And the road. This is the irony about the story. But you can understand that also it's a learning lesson for me as an architect and for him as a contractor and for the nation itself. They have a lot of unused materials, so imagine I'm imagining, because in Egypt we don't use so much metal scaffolding, we use the wooden scaffolding, which is, you throw it and you bring new. So imagine if even I'm trying it in the renders here, not to show it as so much beautiful. I think it should be in this kind of row. So there is no fancy thing behind it. So these wires, we have a lot of steel mesh wires. It's already there.
Yeah.
So I'm not coming here to say I want to do sustainable thing and my act is completely different.
So you envisage this being made largely from recycled materials
Yeah.
that are reprocessed to
Yes.
use
Yeah.
as CLT
Yeah.
or similar?
Yeah, and the fact that this kind of structure, it was very heavily structured that can support another structure. So our structure, I think it should be light
Yeah.
as much as we can.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, we look forward to visiting it.
But now it's became pressure on my shoulder to prove it's true. But it's fine. It's a good pressure.
Listen, last year you had the pressure at WAF for creating something, and it's only a year later, so that sounds good.
Yeah, thank you so much.
What will next
Thank
year
you.
bring?
Yeah, what will next year? Exactly.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.